Okay, good evening everyone. My name is Celeste La Capra. Welcome back to the channel. So the halfway to Black Friday sale over on vinegarsyndrome.com started a few days ago, and it is going to continue today and then tomorrow until midnight. So hopefully I can get this video up as soon as possible so that it is relevant for sale recommendations, but also this will be relevant beyond just this sale because these titles will be on sale every sale going forward. And just for posterity, I also wanted to just list my favorite Vinegar Syndrome releases of the year. So, as you may or may not know, I reviewed all of the mainline Vinegar Syndrome titles from last year, as I am a subscriber and I review every one of the titles. So I do think I'm a little bit qualified to rank these, but at the same time, I have not watched all of the sub-labels. So the VSAs, the VSPs, the VSLs. Am I missing one? Any of those. I only had a handful of VSUs as well. I only watched a handful of those, and I think there's one of those that is included today, but most of this stuff is the mainline stuff because that's what I get in my subscription. You will also find at the end of this video a title screen that will show up that will link to my Vinegar Syndrome playlist where you can watch full-length in-depth reviews of all but one of these, including details on the supplements, packaging, etc. So, without further ado, given that these are on sale for the first time as of this current halfway to Black Friday sale, I wanted to go ahead and offer some recommendations, and let's just go ahead and get started. But before we actually get started, if you are at all interested in in-depth discussions on cult and art house films, please go ahead and click the subscribe button. And if you want to support the channel, liking the video and sharing it with a friend and leaving lovely comments for me to read would be super helpful as well. And if you find the work that I do valuable and you want to support it monetarily, there are links in the description for my Patreon, channel membership program, and Amazon wishlist. Now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I wanted to do a top 10, but then I actually looked at it and I was like, fuck it, we're doing 15 because I didn't feel like narrowing it down, and why not? Give more titles some more love, right? I don't know how many releases they put out last year, but it's a lot more than 15, so even at the bottom of the list, like, having it on my list means something. Like, I strongly recommend all of these. Okay, so at number 15, this is kind of a last-minute sort of dark horse pick. This is the Pyotr Shulkin Apocalypse Tetralogy. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these, the limited editions are sold out, but you can get all of these right now on the website and for the foreseeable future. None of these are VSAs, so all of these have standard editions, or they will have standard editions when limited sells out. So you're good to go on purchasing all of these. So this is a box set of 4 kind of like dystopian sci-fi films from Polish filmmaker Pyotr Shulkin. This is the only one in this stack that I don't have an existing kind of full-length in-depth review on, so I'll try to go ahead and review it quickly now, but it won't be as in-depth as those. I did watch all of the films and all of the supplements and read the booklet, as I am wont to do, but, you know, I love this artwork, and then also this slipcover artwork is maybe my favorite artwork that Vinegar Syndrome did all year. I just think it's so cool. It's really simple, but it's also just really effective and special, I think. Sometimes simple is better. So it includes the films Gaga, Obi Oba, Golem, and War of the Worlds. That's not the order in which they're on the discs because they are in chronological order. So in chronological order, you have Golem, The War of the Worlds, Obi Oba, and Gaga, Glory to the Heroes. I actually liked these better, kind of like in the order that I watched them. And I don't know if that's actually because the films get progressively better or if I just became more and more on this director's wavelength as the films went on. Like, I started with Golem and I didn't like it, to be honest with you. I gave it a 5 out of a 10. It just has this like hideous sepia tone color palette and I don't know, not a ton going on. And then with War of the Worlds, like, we were getting better, but it's still like feels kind of slow, has a very ugly drab aesthetic to it, and feels like it takes too long to get to the point. Like, it feels a little longer than it needs to be. Obi Oba is another one where I did have significant issues with it, but I felt like the pacing had improved and the themes were more interesting and the aesthetic was less hideous, and it's kind of a snowy, like, dystopian aesthetic going on to it. All of these films are very, very, like, Orwellian, very, like, H.G. Wells, that kind of thing. A lot of literary influence in here, very obviously. And then War of the Worlds was easily my favorite. Like, that's the one that I gave, like, a 7 out of 10 to, and that I feel I will return to the soonest. It just has better pacing, I think, and a really compelling story, and I don't know, generally I just got a lot out of it. But I think that this is one that I'll hang on to. I mean, one, because I liked most of the films, but also because I think now that I'm on this person's wavelength, when I kind of go back and revisit it, I think I'll have a better appreciation for these films the second time. There's also tons of great supplements on here, like Golem I didn't like, but Sam Deegan has an incredible commentary kind of contextualizing the Golem story throughout history, the place that this film holds in that overall narrative. And there's an excellent booklet, which is unfortunately out of print now, but for just the standard edition, like, I think the price on it is going to be very reasonable for the 4 films that you get. And while this is the one that I was easily the most mixed on out of this list, like, it's still a really, really cool thing that granted me a lot of new discovery. Like, I just got to go pretty deep on a filmmaker I'd never even heard of, and like the box set and the supplements and everything are just really, really well put together. And so, yeah, I definitely recommend this one off to start. Now we get into the stuff where you can find full-length reviews on my channel. So we'll try to go through these briefly. At number 14, we have Gorgo. Unfortunately, this one, the hard box is also sold out, but you can still get the standard edition, and I believe the poster that is inside comes with that too, which is really nice. Now, Gorgo is like a British Godzilla knockoff. It's a very like classic 60s monster movie thing going on, and it's very short. It's only about 70 minutes or so. What I like about this is that it kind of combines the kind of goofy aspects and the like the cutesy aspects of like Showa era Godzilla while also retaining the heart and the thematic depth of the original. Like, it is a very touching film, and like one that I would recommend for any fans of like kaiju cinema in general. And the 4K also just looks gorgeous. Like, you can definitely see a lot of the seams on the special effects here, but I don't think it distracts too much, and it still makes for like a really beautiful viewing experience. And I don't know, I just found this film to be really touching. It has an ending that I just adore, and again, there's a few extra like short films included on this, and like some full-length making of documentaries. Like, the supplements on this are really just incredibly stacked. So if you're a fan of that kind of thing, kid-friendly monster movies, kaiju cinema deep cuts, British cinema, etc., I highly recommend Gorgo. Okay, and then at number 13, if I'm counting correctly, we have Villages of the Damned, 3 horrors from Spain. Now, you know, a lot of people will say to just wait for the sale for this stuff, and generally I do think that that's good advice because, you know, times are tough and these things are expensive and money is limited. But this is the sort of thing where it's like, you know, you do want to keep an eye out and make sure to get this stuff while it is available, because the standard edition is available still. This incredible booklet that it comes with is unfortunately not. Now, I am not a fan of this practice of making the booklets part of the limited edition, because I think that the people who wrote the essays kind of deserve better than that. Like, I think that they should be treated at the same status as like whoever did the audio commentary and this, that, and the other. Like, those supplements aren't relegated to a limited edition. I don't know, that's just a rant that I'll go on as many times as I need to, but I don't think that content should be part of the limited edition. I think that should just be packaging, you know? But in any case, I still have this on the list, and I still recommend it with those caveats aside. Even with just the films and the supplements on the disc, this is absolutely worth getting. The films that are included are El Bosque del Lobo, or The Forest of the Wolf, Las Flores del Vicio, or The Sky is Falling, The Sky is Falling, or Bloodbath. That one has like a bunch of titles. And then Beatrice. El Bosque del Lobo is the most popular film on the set, I think, and it's a very, very like slow burn, I mean obviously Spanish, kind of like werewolf film, though it has some interesting things to say about like true crime and mob mentality and the ways in which we diagnose like really horrific crimes to make ourselves feel better. It's extremely, extremely slow, but I do think it is worth checking out, and I think I would like it more the second time. Bloodbath, or The Sky is Falling, or whatever, is genuinely one of the most uncomfortable, insane, and unhinged films I've ever seen. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It is all over the place, like, tonally and plot-wise. Like, it is just a fever dream kind of trashy art house movie with a lot of content warnings for, like, real animal violence, real drug use, racism, like, sexual violence, like just about everything that could possibly make someone uncomfortable is in this. So I guess go into it, you know, as educated as possible, but it is unlike anything I've ever seen. The real highlight for me, though, is Beatrice. Now that is another one that is pretty disturbing, and I would put a pretty hefty content warning on for sexual violence, but it is like one of the coolest looking films that I saw all of last year. It is just gorgeous, and the story is really, really fascinating and thematically rich, and it is, like, again, it is genuinely disturbing, and one that I would highly recommend. The whole set I would recommend for that film alone. And number 12, we're gonna have the same kind of rant again because you can't get this superb booklet, but the films themselves are worth it on their own. And, you know, it will take up a lot less space on your shelf than this big chunky set, but we're gonna go ahead and go for Made in Hong Kong Volume 1. Let me say real quick, I cannot wait for Made in Hong Kong Volume 2, especially now that Sam Deegan is the head of special features production over there. I can't wait to see what she comes up with, but this includes the films The Demon's Baby, Erotic Nightmare, and The Deadly Camp. Now, The Demon's Baby is just a really, I think all of these are Category 3, but maybe some of them are 2B, something like that. If you're unfamiliar, Category 3 is kind of like Hong Kong's rated R, or rated X actually, I think. Basically extreme films from Hong Kong. Now, The Demon's Baby is a really interesting kind of horror comedy almost. Like, it has all of those things that Hong Kong are really well known for in regards to kind of like tonal whiplash. Like, you get scenes that are super comedic, and you get like it's like a rom-com for the first half of this, and then it switches into like just some of the most insane supernatural horror you'll see. There's a scene where they use a placenta as like a ball that they're playing sports with, and like all sorts of crazy shit. One of the more foul pro-choice films I can think of. Now, Erotic Nightmare is one that is really, really just out there, and I don't even know. I wouldn't recommend this one for the faint of heart at all, and I don't say that as like a, ooh, I'm so much tougher than you that I can handle this. Like, genuinely, if like sexual violence and pedophilia and things like that make you uncomfortable, you shouldn't watch this film. Or at least if they make you uncomfortable to the extent that you are entirely uninterested in a film about them. Because this is essentially about a man who fantasizes about sleeping with, so he's a high school teacher, so he fantasizes about sleeping with his high school students, and he finds like a black magic shaman of sorts that can make that happen for him in his dreams. But it quickly turns into more than he bargained for, and that's all I'll say about it. It has some pretty inexcusable stuff in it, but it's also fully unhinged in a way that I think only Hong Kong can really deliver. And then The Deadly Camp is a pretty middle-of-the-road Friday the 13th ripoff. It's worth at least a watch, but I mainly recommend this set for the other two films and for the excellent supplements that are included. Coming in at number 11, staying in Hong Kong, we have Biozombie. Now this slipcase was exclusive to subscribers. It was kind of a last-minute gift that they sent out, which was pretty cool. So you can't get that, but this lovely slipcover is still available. Now this is one that I would just basically describe this as a buddy comedy meets Dawn of the Dead in Hong Kong. It's very, very clearly inspired by Dawn of the Dead and kind of just takes that premise and sets it in Hong Kong, but it's like super, super well made. It's very funny. It has tons of great action and horror scenes, and it's also like kind of beautiful and touching, and like by the end of it, there's a few scenes that are pretty emotionally devastating. So again, that everything, all those different tones kind of put in a blender. Like, you get the fun horror, you get the funny like buddy comedy, and then you get the kind of intense drama as well. And it has one of the best audio commentaries I've heard recently by Frank Zhang on it, so that one comes highly recommended for sure. Okay, and then at number 10, right? 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. I just keep having to recount. At number 10, from Uli Lamel, the first of his films that'll be on this list is a little bit of a tease, but we have The Devonsville Terror. Now, this fucking rules. I don't know how else to say it. Like, this is a film about a woman who is a sort of like progressive feminist. She's a school teacher, but she teaches the younger grades, like kindergarten, that kind of age group in this town. And she arrives there, and the people there have some very progressive or conservative politics, and they also have a history of witch burning in this town, and they see her as like those witches coming back to enact their revenge, and it kind of goes from there. But this is a super, super interesting, disturbing, and also like depressingly prescient film about like the ways in which progressive politics or feminist ideals or queer people or any of these sort of marginalized people that the church deems as being a threat can kind of face this witch-burning-esque discrimination in a modern lens. There are lines in this that feel like they were ripped straight from the headlines today, but this film is like 40 or 30 years old, so it's kind of disturbing in that way to watch it, but it's also just fascinating and really well made and really well acted, and some really cool special effects sequences. I'm a sucker for any witch burning type films or any witchcraft, witch hunter type films, as you can see from my Witchfinder General one sheet right here. But Yeah, this I think is super underrated, and I haven't seen a ton of people talk about, so make sure to grab this if that sounds like something that you would enjoy. Oh, and then next at number 9? Yeah, number 9 is the other Uli Lamel film. I didn't realize I had them back to back, but this is The Boogeyman, with, again, a strong candidate for my favorite artwork of the year. The slipcover sold out, unfortunately, so you get that original theatrical there, and I think that this does have the reversible on it as well. The slipcover for Devonsville Terror is still available, by the way. But The Boogeyman, I think I put this above Devonsville Terror, even though I liked it less, because the supplements are just some of the best of the year. Like, it has just an insane amount of special features, an incredible commentary from Kat Ellinger, and just, like, so many fascinating interviews and visual essays. And this is a film that I think I said in my review that A24 would have put this out today. I think it's more subtle than those films. Like, it's less, like, the trauma as the point is less obvious in this, but I think this definitely shares themes of, like, the horror being the trauma. Like, it's about these kids that witness their mother having sex with, like, this really seedy, kind of gross guy, and the young son kills him. And the guilt of that action and the trauma of what they experience kind of comes back to haunt them. It's a really beautiful looking film. The 4K looks astonishing. Just a really great film that I recommend. And number 8, we have Undefeatable. Again, this is one that the film is great, but I have to put it a little bit higher than some films I maybe like more, just because this has one of the most intimidating special features packages of any film I own in my collection. Like, there are pages of supplements on this, and it took me forever to go through all of them, but they're all incredible. Like, there's multiple commentaries that I think are essential. So many great visual essays and interviews on here as well. But Undefeatable is a really silly, kind of campy martial arts film that is also like a fucked up horror film. It kind of does both. Like, you'll have a really intense sexual assault scene, and then you'll have a really fun, goofy, like, martial arts battle sequence. The acting in it is terrible, the choreography is excellent, and it is just like martial arts camp, like, at its best. Coming in at number 6, this is going to be kind of similar to the last one in that I did love this film, but what kind of puts it over the edge is just the amount of incredible supplements on this package. And shockingly to me, this slipcover is still available, but at number 6, I'm going to recommend Mother's Day. Again, check out my full review for, like, the insane amount of special features on this, but this is just a really fucked up, nasty kind of exploitation trauma film. Again, tons of brutal violence, some disturbing sexual violence in here too, but it's also just so unhinged and nasty, and also funny in some parts, and it has a really cathartic sort of ending sequence. Again, not one I'd recommend for everybody, but if this is your kind of thing, like, this was surprisingly good to me, and just boasts some really incredible central performances, and some, again, this is one of the best looking 4Ks I've seen all year too, so just overall, this comes strongly recommended. Okay, so for the final top 5, we're getting, although all of these have incredible special features, like, we're getting more into, like, the films that I liked the best, that I want to recommend the strongest. So at number 5, we have From Beyond. Now, this is a pretty popular film. I feel like most people have probably seen it if you're into this kind of thing, but I had never seen this film before, and it just blew me away, and this is a strong candidate for the best looking 4K of the whole year. I mean, again, look at this slipcover. Like, this slipcover is just gorgeous, and, like, it gives you an idea of, like, the kind of color palette and vibrant purples and blues and everything you can kind of expect in a visual presentation. It's also just, I don't know, it's so sick. Like, body horror, Lovecraftian, supernatural madness, like, turned up to the max, and it's extremely entertaining while also being really disturbing, and, like, I don't know, it's just a certified banger. So, and the special features are great. It has a full-length, newly commissioned making of documentary that is excellent. Yeah, can't really say enough nice things about From Beyond. And at number 4, we get into stuff that speaks to me a little bit more personally, with Mark of the Devil. This whole slip box and everything is still available, but yeah, this is very much, you know, in the tradition of something like Witchfinder General, and in fact, is pretty explicitly inspired by it, or maybe less charitably ripping it off. But this is a German-English co-production about a witchfinder who comes to this town which has been run by this like really corrupt fucking sleazy guy who's just using his power to settle scores and like rape women and just all this horrible stuff. And this guy comes in with his boss, I guess, from the Catholic Church, and they're going in to like fix up the town and like train the witch hunters and everything. And you know, he quickly discovers that this is maybe not a noble as pursuit as he thought. There's some really notorious torture sequences in this. There's some really clever marketing that they had to do for it, including barf bags, which if you watch my review, you'll see I secured a copy of. I don't know, this just speaks to me thematically a lot in the ways that it explores like religious oppression and totalitarianism, and you know, we're checking boxes for me here. So, and it's also just a really great, gorgeous looking film. And then at number 4, I can't remember if I fucked up my count at this point or not, but you get the idea. At number 4, we have David Cronenberg's Existenz. Unfortunately, this is another one where they blew through 10,000 units pretty quickly, and the booklet is gone at this point, but that's okay. Like, I do think that this film is good enough on its own, and the supplements are plentiful and bountiful enough that this is absolutely just worth picking up regardless. Yeah, Existenz, I have a pretty thorough, in-depth review on it, but it's a Cronenberg, kind of one of his better films, one of his more essential films. I don't really know that there are any bad Cronenberg films, but this one is especially entertaining and mind-melting. It kind of combines like Videodrome and The Fly or something like that, and that it has these sort of really intense things to say about technology and sexuality while also having like delivering the goods on the body horror front. It's just it's a classic, and one that I think should be in your collection already, but if it's not for whatever reason, absolutely pick this up. And at number 3, maybe the most underrated release of the year, we have Killer Condom. I think a lot of people slept on this because they thought it was something stupid or something like crass, but it's not. It's incredible. It's truly like a thoughtful, like well-made German queer film. It's about a gay detective that goes to this like brothel to investigate condoms that are biting dicks off of people. That is the premise. But it has a lot of really, really interesting things to say about how the police treat queer people, like the AIDS epidemic. Like, I think it's pretty clearly kind of a stand-in for that, while also delivering the goods on like the comedy aspects of this film. And the special effects are just incredible too. I don't know, just really great representation, really great dialogue, characters, special effects. The whole thing is just fantastic. The only complaint is that it's probably a little bit too long, but I don't know. I think, I don't know what I would cut. Like, the whole thing is great. And again, the features are just so stacked. Like, it'll take you at least a few days to get through everything on there. Yeah, if you've written this off for whatever reason, or it just didn't seem like your kind of thing, I'd really strongly consider you to take another chance, or to take another look at it and take a chance on it. Next, number 2, this was really a strong candidate for number 1 if it weren't for my actual number 1, which I think is probably very obvious, but I mean, it's very, very close. This is Mexican Gothic, the films of Carlos Enrique Taboada. This is not sold out yet, and it really should be, so you can still get this incredible booklet with really great illustrations and artwork. But this includes the films Poison for the Fairies, Blacker Than the Night, and Rapiña. Poison for the Fairies is a classic, like, satanic gothic horror about these 2 young girls, one of which is, like, from a very straight-laced Catholic family, and one of which, like, has decided that she's a Satan-worshipping witch, and they get up to mischief, and it's just, I don't know. This is, like, gothic, leftist, atheist, like, incredible filmmaking, like, just very much speaking to me. Critical of religion and power structures, critical of capitalism. You know, it's critical of all of these things, but it also, like, the characters in this are always centered on, like the first 2 films, like, the protagonists are all women, and then in the 3rd film, the protagonists are very, very poor people. Like, we are definitely telling stories of marginalized people here, and, like, this is exactly the kind of thing that I think physical media is, like, for, is, like, restoring and putting a spotlight on these, like, international films with important messages and incredible artistry. I don't know, I think putting a spotlight on non-white filmmakers, on non-English speaking filmmakers is really important, but when the films are this good, it's really easy to do as well. The one caveat I'll say is that Rapiña is definitely not a horror film, but it is a really beautiful, moving drama about these these poor peasants in Mexico that find a crashed plane that contains like a bunch of rich people, and they steal all their shit, and it goes from there. And then Blacker Than the Night is a film about a cat. So, highly recommend. And then the number one release of the year, you already know what it is if you've watched my last few videos, but it's The Lost Picture Show. I don't even know, like, I've already dedicated several hours on this channel to talking about this, so I'll keep this brief, but like, even if the films weren't good, which they are, this is such an important and incredible project, like finding, restoring, and making available films that haven't been able to be seen for decades is such an incredibly important project. Like, this is a film historian's like wet dream. This is a cult movie fan's like dream release, just stuff that, I mean, quite literally nobody has seen in years and years and years. And so I just can't overstate how important the work is here, how much love and attention went into this, and also the package itself is gorgeous. Like, I know that there are plenty of copies left of this. I don't know what the standard edition is going to look like if and when they do one, which I imagine they will, but this box set with like the magnetic clasp and the marquee and the booklets and everything, like, so much work and so much love was put into this package, and to me it is the best release of the year. So, you know, if you want more on it, go watch my multiple videos that I've done on it. There's a segment reviewing just this box set for about an hour, going through all the films and all the special features, and then there's a 3-hour interview with Oscar Bescher from Vinegar Syndrome, really going deep on the history of this project, the philosophy behind it, and also like the story of each and every film and how they came to be. So lots to go over on The Lost Picture Show, but to me this is the best release of the year. Okay, so that does it. Hopefully I got this video up in time and you can utilize those recommendations for sales season, but if not, again, no worries. Those recommendations are evergreen. Check them out next sale. Check them out if you happen to find them at a thrift shop or whatever. Or just watch the movies if you can find them. Support Vinegar Syndrome. They're doing really awesome work. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this and you would like to support me monetarily, there are links in the description for my Patreon channel membership and Amazon wishlist. If you'd like to support me non-monetarily, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, commenting lovely comments for me to read, and sharing it with a cult movie freak would help me out as well. And there are also links in the description for my social media accounts, should you like to be a little bit more intimate. And with that, remember that Satan loves all of their children. Bye. I'd like to take a moment to thank our newest patron, Carlos Osegueda. I'd also like to thank our accomplices, Anthony Listro, The Boogeyman's Closet, Carlin Cook, Deanna Vave, The Disconnected, Dustin Putman, George Strang, Julie Humphris, Nosferatu 1334, Peppa Crab, Phil P., Sasha Bobashasaurus, and Stephen Perkins. If you'd like to be counted amongst their ranks, the link is in the description.